individuals really want to make a difference in their career, right, in their industry, even in the world, they've got to begin with what you say, innovation on the inside. Innovation on the inside to disrupt themselves. That's a powerful message. Can you tell me what you mean by that, please?
Absolutely. Well, let me backtrack just a minute and make sure that definitionally we're talking about disruptive innovation, which is any innovation that starts out at the low end of the market and then eventually upends an industry. So one great example is that Netflix disrupted Blockbuster, for example. And so one of the things to me about these frameworks is that we've seen them applied to products and services and companies and countries, and I apply them professionally to invest in stocks and specifically in startups. A couple of years ago, as I was again going through The Innovator's Dilemma, which is a book I obviously recommend highly, sort of my top 10 books for entrepreneurs, is that it occurred to me that these frameworks really could be applied to personal disruption. And that there's so much about these frameworks that in many ways is actually counterintuitive, that unless we have applied those frameworks to ourselves individually, it's very difficult, I think, to apply them in building a business. Let me explain what I mean. So, for example, and let me tell you via a story. When you do personal disruption, you have to be willing to go to a place where no one's playing or no one wants to play. A great example of that is Eunice Kennedy Shriver, who's the mother of Maria Shriver. She's now deceased. She's a fascinating woman in that she was of the generation where her father said she might have made a fine politician had she been a man. Well, politics was obviously close to her. At the same time, she had an older sister, Rosemary, whom she loved dearly. She was mentally retarded, and she saw that she wasn't treated well. So Eunice Kennedy Shriver, what does she do? She doesn't beat her head against the wall and say, I'm going to become a politician. That would have been like beating up against an incumbent. Instead, she said, well, I know I care about making a difference in the world, and I know I care about my sister. So I'm going to go where no one else is playing. Now, she didn't do this. We're looking at the pattern. But she created the Special Olympics. Now, when she created the Special Olympics in the 60s, mental retardation was not viewed as it is today. But in creating this Olympics that now has over 3 million participants in dozens and dozens of countries around the world, she went where no one was playing, where no one actually wanted to play. And some could argue that she's had more influence than most politicians. So by being willing to disrupt her perception of herself, the perception of others, to go where no one else was playing, she was a disruptor. And you can bet, well, you don't have to bet, she started a business or an organization that eventually upended the world's view of mental retardation. Yet if she hadn't been in a position where she instinctively knew to go where no one else was playing, it's very difficult to build a business that does that.